Do you hate the thought of working past 55 or 60? Do you hate not being able to live the life you deserve today? Do you hate not knowing what your financial future looks like? It's time to stop doing what you hate. Here's your host, Mr. Harold Green.
Hello, everybody. This is Harold Green of Bright Tree Wealth Management. And it is time to really stop doing what you hate. I hope you're having a great day today. I'm pretty good, doing pretty good. I'm excited to be sharing today's show with you folks. Something I've been thinking about for about a week, thinking about it, kind of praying about it, and just kind of trying to process it because it's a difficult show. It's something that's weighing on my heart, like very, very deeply. So first of all, I want to say thank you to all the new clients that are coming aboard. Man, I'm excited to be working with you folks. There's a lot of great potential there. I think we're going to make a great team. Just really excited about that. And then also went to Florida over the past week to see my mom and celebrate her birthday, and got to catch up with family and see some folks, that I kind of hadn't seen in a while. Go back to my old stopping grounds, and some of it is there, some of it is not there. But it was pretty cool. I had a good time just hanging out with my sister and just staying at her house and just kind of getting caught up and just pouring into her, sharing, everything that's been going on with me, and just kind of getting up to speed and just kind of, just like hanging out. And then we had this crazy stock market rotation this week, over the last couple of weeks, and it's just kind of been nuts. We'll get into a stock market update here in the next couple of weeks and just kind of let you know, what's been going on with that. But the title of my show is The Wealth Gap. And if I can say it honestly, it's going to be The Wealth Gap Part 1. But if there's a subtitle of this show, it would be Financial Disorientation. And I want to talk about the 3% because, man, there's a huge gap between the 97% and the 3%. But there's a reason for this. And that's kind of like what I've been searching for and seeking for. I've been trying to flesh out and just dig up what's causing so many people to just be caught up in the 97%. So I'm going to talk to you folks about some of that today. But my mission is to help get as many people as possible into the 3%. Because if I do that, then, I'm also going to encourage them to reach back and to help pull others into the 3%. But like giving to charity, giving to different orphanages, just things where people are getting educated and their life is being made better so that they can learn and succeed, because I believe this is going to do so much good for the world. And we live in the best money-making situation on the planet. But yeah, so many people live like they're in a third world country with no opportunity to succeed. And all we hear is inequality and racism and all of this stuff. I'm sick of it. Being a Black person is one of the most disgusting things I've seen in a long time. And it makes me just furious. And so I want to educate all of you out there about what's really going on, because a lot of people are blind. So like I said, I went back to Florida, celebrate my mom's birthday. And you guys know me, I'm a very attentive person. I always got my radar up. Sorry, but I always have my radar up. I'm in observation mode. I really want to know what's going on around me. Okay. And so what I perceived shook me hard. And it was sad. It was moving. And up until now, I didn't realize how bad the wealth gap really was. I mean, I grew up poor. So I saw some of it when I was a kid because we didn't have a whole lot. And I told you guys that, right? And I was poor most of my adult life. I was always living paycheck to paycheck, trying to robbing Peter to pay Paul and floating checks. Man, I got so good at floating checks. Man, I could float a check for 2 weeks. Put some air into that bad boy. Until it all ended. But I'm just telling you where I came from. Okay. So I pondered the stuff for a week, prayed about it, sat outside, drank coffee, just kind of, mused over it. And, I want to share with you what I found. And so my goal is to help you understand the financial system and how it's designed, and then how to get to work better on your behalf. But first, I really got to get into some stuff. All right. And it's maybe a little painful for some of you to hear, but you got to hear it. And I've heard it said like this: if you care about yourself, you tell people what they want to hear. But if you care about the person, you tell them what they need to hear. So today, I'm just going to abandon all regard for myself, which I normally do anyway. And I'm going to flat out put it out to you. So this show is dedicated to all the people who said to me, Harold, I don't know much about money because nobody ever told me like what to do with it. I'm not smart enough to handle money. I'm not good at money, but I want to, I want to be in the 3%. I want to be successful. Like I want to have nice stuff. I want to be able to live a great life. But first, we're gonna have to tackle some stuff. So, are you ready? Buckle up. 1, 2, 3. Let's get it. Now, first thing I'm gonna start with this. Okay. Have you ever had a dog? I have. We've had lots of them when I was a kid. And here's what I found. What happens if an owner constantly yell at the dog, hit the dog, not be nice to the dog? Well, after a period of time, when the owner comes home, that dog, it goes and hides. It's not running to the door like yelping and like, scratching the door like, my owner's home. I'm happy to see my owner. No, that dog checks out and he goes and hides. Okay. And what he does is he waits a little bit and then he kind of like peeks around the corner just to see what kind of mood the owner is in. And then they have to decide if they feel that it's safe to come back and be around you. Money is similar. If you abuse it, it will run from you. And Jesus said, the poor you will have with you always. Some people are born poor. Some people are born rich and become poor. Some people are born and then they just live a life of poverty just because. Now, I want to get into some money abuses, right? And this is going to be real simple, real basic, but it might hit you below the belt a little bit. So I just want to tell you that ahead of time so you can brace yourself. All right. So money abuses, the first one I see a lot is people spending on wants versus needs. It's like, oh my God, my week was so hard. I deserve a little retail therapy. Like, oh my God, my week is so hard. Like I just want to go have a nice dinner somewhere. Like my week was so hard, or my life is not going the way. I just need to do something for myself. And sometimes that may be true, but a lot of times people are just like living by their feelings versus by the facts. And the fact of the matter is you don't have that money to be spending anyway. And I'm going to tell you something here right now. The person you are today is responsible for the old person you're going to become at 65, 70, 80 years old. And if you do a piss poor job of taking care of the future needs of that person, when you get there, it's going to be nobody's fault but your own. And like I said, in one of my last shows, I talked about the tax refund. People get a tax refund every year. Some of them do anyway, big tax returns. And what do? They ball out like Rockefeller. They do not put that money aside. And not putting money aside is a grave mistake. It is a financial abuse. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is giving money to rich people. These are all ways that you can abuse money. And I want you to think about this. And Proverbs talks about, I can't remember which scripture that was, but it says, he who oppresses or exploits the poor to get more for himself, or who gives to the rich to gain influence and favor, will only come to poverty. Like this is some serious stuff. And that's in the Amplified Bible. And AI did a little thing on AI, and it said this verse can be interpreted as meaning that people who exploit the poor or give gifts to the rich to gain influence or favor will end up in poverty. And to me, basically, it's like trying to look good or buying a dinner when you can't afford it, and it's appearances. And the next thing I kind of want to go into is part of this like systemic issue that we have in our country. And the first thing we look at right now that's hurting a lot of people is inflation. And high inflation does nothing but help the rich. I want you to think about that. All of these $1 trillion bills that are being spent, all of this money that's being handed out, looks like it went to people who needed it, people who lost their jobs, all of this and that. Yeah, and guess what they did? They turned right back around and they gave that money to the rich twice, 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 twice. And this makes me very angry. And here's what I'm talking about. When people got that money, guess what they did with it? They spent it. They bought Nikes. They took trips. How many poor people own airlines? None. How many poor people own stores where they sell merchandise? None. How many people own hotels that are poor? None. The rich do. And when inflation goes up, rates go up because the Federal Reserve want to crush the spending. Okay. They want to stop you from spending. You're spending too much money. Well, they gave it to you to spend. That's what they gave it to you for, was to help the economy. All right. But it had unintended consequences for a lot of people. And so now the rich got the money in their corporations. And guess what they do? They pocket it and they put it in the bank. And when rates go up to 5, 6, 7%, they're getting 5, 6, 7% on trillions of dollars sitting in their money market account. And you're sitting there holding the bag because you gave to the rich. The Federal Reserve is helping the rich and not the poor. The quest to tame inflation has consequences, and these consequences severely limit the financial opportunities for the poor, but they greatly increase the financial opportunities of the rich. Like I'm just saying this, like 5, 6% on money market accounts. Poor people don't have money to put in money market accounts, but boy, they got those shoes, they took those trips, they did all this stuff. Okay. Financial abuse. Now, during times of financial turmoil, and we all seen this in '08, this is when the rich make their money off of the misfortunes of the poor. Okay. Now, I don't like this, but this is the system. As an investment advisor, I work with people and we manage millions and millions and millions of bucks. And in financial turmoil is when we make the most money for our clients, because this is when people that, they don't know what they're doing with their finances, they end up making wrong investment choices. Now, this is a financial show. Investments do carry a risk of loss. Before you invest any money, go do your own due diligence, and past performance is no indicator of future results. You got to understand your risk tolerance and so on and so forth. Okay. Get first opinion, second opinion, third opinion before you invest any money. Just do research. Now, I want to get into something here. And it's the example would be foreclosures, bankruptcies, mass layoffs, high interest rates, things like affirmative action. And I was telling somebody this the other day. I used to be an air traffic controller. I was a beneficiary of an affirmative action, but I was also a victim of affirmative action. They put me in a high pressure job, a kid from the sticks who couldn't speak proper English, into a high pressure situation, talking to pilots flying hundreds of millions of dollars of airplanes, like aircraft, in all kinds of situations. And we had to control those guys and bring them back to the ship safely, bring them back to shore safely. And we had to speak proper English. And you get these country kids from Louisiana, from the boonies, and we can't talk right. What do you think happened? That was a recipe for disaster by a well-meaning politician that didn't implement the policies the right way. So I kind of got washed out the military. I got such a bad attitude. I said, to hell with you guys. Like, you guys are freaking racist. You guys don't care nothing about like black people. You guys are just, it was my bad attitude is what it really was. And that's the truth. All right. But I'm going to get back to this. So '08, we had subprime mortgages due to Clinton wanting to increase black home ownership. And that was in the face of the following backdrop. All right. And I'm going to be very serious about this. And I did some research. And here's what I found. Black women are caught between bad jobs, widespread financial burdens. 84% of Black mothers are breadwinners. I know this for a fact because I grew up this way. Okay. But this is research that was done. And Black women are also caught up in what I call financial tribalism. That's where if you don't leave the tribe, the people around you will consume whatever success you have, and it's going to be short-lived. You might have a little bit of success, but you won't be able to maximize your full potential. And I'm going to give you an example of something I saw or something that I commonly see and something that happened with me. So when you get behind on your bills, your credit is ruined. And when you need a car to get to work, your interest rates, like, they go really high. And this is from a University of Michigan study. And it says, and I quote, in particular, Blacks are less likely than whites to have purchased a new vehicle and are dramatically more likely to have obtained a vehicle finance company loan, not a bank loan, okay? The dealer loan. That's telling you something right there. How many poor Black people do you know that own dealerships? None. I don't know any, okay? The table also indicates that the interest rate paid by Blacks on average are on average a full 100 basis points higher versus what white people pay. And then Blacks on average have worse credit than whites for a variety of reasons, but I'm not casting any blame. It's a personal responsibility situation. All right. Now, when you buy a used car with high rates, the car is probably going to die before you pay it off. And because you can't afford to fix it, you got to roll that debt into another loan. And they call that like You got to roll that debt into another loan on another used car just to get to work at a job that don't pay all that well. That's called being upside down. And I feel like many people are going through life upside down financially. And I can make that reference to a pilot going through a similar situation because I used to be an air traffic controller. And if a pilot doesn't plan the flight properly, gets into bad weather, or doesn't anticipate issues, that's when crashes happen. When people don't build proper financial plans, that's when crashes occur. And it says occasionally pilots become disoriented, especially while operating in clouds under IFR, which we call instrument flight rules. Pilot disorientation can lead to stalls or spins that lead to crashes, right? You ever seen people in just a financial tailspin and they just can't get out of it? They can't get out of it, paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. I'm going to submit this to you. Many people are living in clouds and are financially disoriented. I see it all the time. And if politicians, they rage about inequality for votes, but when they get voted in, they don't do anything about the system that is causing the inequality due to the donations from the rich. What does this make them? And if you're affected by this and you vote for these people, what does this make you? Think about that. Are you voting against your own best interest? I would like to see somebody get in there and say, okay, I understand this inequality. Why? Okay, let's go look at car insurance for Black folks. I mean, I'm just saying poor people in general. It's the law. You got to have insurance. There's no insurance bailout for people who make less than, $50,000 a year. There are no subsidies for insurance. There's no subsidies for, people, Carlo. It doesn't exist. But something can be done about that because, I know people personally that are paying, $500-$600 a month for car insurance because they got into a small accident. They're just being taken to the bank, the cleaners. But yet we hear all of this crap about inequality, racism, but they're not fixing our problems at all. So before you go vote, go think about that. Think about that. And don't get mad at me because I'm telling you what you need to hear, not what I want you to hear. Okay. The rich will put people in power with their money and your vote. You are giving to the rich and that will make you poor and keep you poor. Think about that. You are perpetuating a system that is constantly coming around with a wrecking ball. Every time something happens to you, you can't afford this, you can't afford that. And it's always hitting you real hard. And you have to ask yourself why. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to get into, I'm going to tread very carefully here because I really want you to hear this. Giving away money you don't have to church. Okay. I hear this a lot. Harold, I got to give my 10%. I do this, I got to do that. No, you don't. Read your Bible. Go look in the New Testament about this stuff. Go study it out. Because here's why. If you are behind on your bills and you're giving away money that you don't have, this is a form of money abuse. That money belongs to someone else that you made a commitment to, and you are not taking personal responsibility for your actions. And God will not reward bad behavior. Well, God gonna bless me. No, he ain't. You owe this money to somebody else. Okay, you're being irresponsible. All right, let's cut this out. I'm telling you the truth. Study it, understand it, get yourself in a better place. So many people wonder why they keep doing this and nothing changes because he doesn't reward bad behavior. You don't reward your kids for bad behavior. Look, Ma, I went bust out the window. No, okay. Can I have ice cream now? Like, no. I'm sorry, but I see this a lot and people are disillusioned. Okay. The other thing is helping family members when you don't have enough for yourself, always bailing them out of poor financial decisions because they've spent their money on what they want versus what they need. And now when something of a need comes around, they don't have it. And here's why I'm going to hit you with a Proverbs 24:30 NIV scripture. And it says, I went past the field of the sluggard, past the vineyard of someone who has no sense. You can say, I went past the house of the sluggard, past the yard of someone who has no sense. Thorns had came up everywhere. The ground was covered with weeds, grass everywhere. And the stone wall was in ruins, like the fence was all bust up and everything. And it says, I applied my heart to what I observed and learned a lesson from what I saw. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man. Like bills show up your door, holding you hostage at gunpoint, asking you for whatever you have in your house. Like bills, it's bills, open up. I'm going to kick down the door. That's what this is saying. And it's hard because I was in this place and I did not know how to get out until I devoted myself to understanding these things. And then I just built on that until where I'm at now. It was a long journey. So I have a word for those who have money and what I'm saying really doesn't affect you. And here's the truth. Nobody's immune from abusing money. We see it every day. You may think like you're not abusing money because you have more than enough of it. And for you, like there is no such thing as overspending. Harold, we got like millions and millions of dollars. Like we're good. However, what you're doing is you're setting a horrible precedent for the upcoming generation, which you're going to pass it to. And before you know it, it's gone. Not much longer after you. So if this is you, I want to encourage you, if you are in the 3%, let's figure out a way that we can help the 97%. Let's figure out some things that we can do together to help make a difference in the lives of those people as well. And in my next show, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share how we're going to close this gap and how you can entirely remove yourself from financially abusing money. It is possible. When you remove yourself from abusing money, guess what happens? Money will show up. Man, I'm telling you the truth. Money, you will begin to get creative ideas. You will begin to live a life where, like, oh my God, you'll start to find deals on stuff. Opportunities will come to you because you're not financially abusing the money. So I'm going to leave you with this. If you have a minimum of $500,000, I'd like for you to go through my process to see if we would be a good team in order to help you get into the 3% and then to grow your wealth, potentially to reach back and to help pull somebody else up from the 97% to the 3%. Okay. So I just wanted to put this out there for you folks, let you know what I see going on. I'm sure some of you see some of the stuff going on, but some of you just, stick your head in the sand and say, a Japanese word is shogunai, cannot be helped. Shogunai cannot be helped. It can be helped. Everything can be helped. So thanks for allowing me to share this with you folks today. And thanks for tuning in. And until next time, everybody, 1, 2, 3, let's get it.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.